You know those moments in life, right? Those big forks in the road where the right choice is anything but clear and you can just feel the pressure mounting. Well, today we're going to talk about something called godly counsel. Basically, a framework for tackling those big decisions with a lot more confidence. Think of it as a roadmap for life.
I mean, who hasn't been there? Staring down a huge choice, feeling the weight of it all, and just wishing anyone could hand you a map. Well, the text we're digging into today argues that a map like that actually exists. It's just not on paper, it's found in the wisdom of other people.
Okay, so here's our game plan. First, we'll break down what godly counsel even is. Then, we'll explore why the text says it's so incredibly important. After that, we'll get into how to pick the right people to advise you, and maybe most importantly, the right mindset for actually hearing that advice. And to wrap it all up, we've got a fantastic real-life story that shows all of this in action.
So, first things first, this whole idea really hinges on one key phrase: what in the world is godly counsel?
According to the source, it's defined very, very specifically. See, this isn't just any old advice you get from a friend. The idea here is that it's guidance that comes from God, but it's not delivered like a lightning bolt from the sky. It's communicated through other people who are seen as wise, who get it, and who have a deep spiritual understanding. So it's this very personal, human-to-human passing of wisdom.
Now, I know what you might be thinking. Hey, I'm pretty smart. I can figure this stuff out on my own. But the text we're looking at makes a really strong case that going it alone, that's actually a pretty risky move. Let's look at the why.
This verse from Proverbs is right at the heart of the argument. And what's so fascinating is the contrast it draws. It doesn't just say counsel is helpful. No, it says the lack of counsel leads to falling, while having a bunch of counselors brings safety. Wow, that really raises the stakes, doesn't it?
So here's the big takeaway. Seeking out advice isn't a sign of weakness, it's actually a strategy for strength. You're basically getting to multiply your own wisdom by tapping into the life lessons, the experiences, and the knowledge of people you trust. It's like you get to learn from their mistakes without having to make every single one yourself.
And check this out. Here's another verse that builds right on top of that idea. Notice that word established. It kind of suggests that our plans, our big ideas, they just stay as, well, ideas until they're tested and sharpened and made solid by the input of others. And this is where it gets super practical. You can have the best idea in the world, but turning that idea into a reality means you've got to navigate your own blind spots. The source argues that's why having multiple counselors is so key, because one person, no matter how smart, almost never has the whole picture. Okay, so if we agree that getting counsel is a big deal, the next obvious question is, who should we be listening to? Because as the text makes very, very clear, not all advice is created equal.
The text draws a super sharp line in the sand here. On one side, you have godly counsel, which comes from people with tested character grounded in spiritual principles. On the other side, you have what it calls ungodly counsel, based on worldly values. So what does that actually mean? Well, it's advice that might push you toward a short-term win over long-term integrity, or maybe popularity over character, what's easy over what's right. The source really pushes us to ask, does this person's life actually back up the wisdom they're giving me? Where is their advice ultimately pointing me? Because the foundation of that advice, that's everything.
And this famous first line from the book of Psalms is like the cornerstone for this whole idea. It's not just a nice suggestion, it's presented as a core principle for living a blessed or truly flourishing life. You've got to be intentional about whose voice you're letting in.
All right, so let's say you found some wise people. Awesome. But there's another massive piece to this puzzle, your own attitude. Because getting great advice is totally useless if you're not actually ready to hear it.
Do any of these sound familiar? Yeah, me too. The text points out these really common thoughts, and they're all basically rooted in pride and that deep desire we have to be in control. It's tough. Our brains are kind of wired to protect our ego, and advice, especially advice that corrects us, can feel like a direct hit. We think of independence as this great thing, but the source argues that when it comes to wisdom, that same instinct can be our biggest enemy, blinding us to the help we desperately need.
Now, the language here from Proverbs, wow, it does not pull any punches. It's incredibly blunt. It creates this direct link between hating correction and, well, being foolish. It's a pretty stark warning against letting our pride shut down our ability to learn and grow.
So here's the bottom line. Being teachable is a choice. It takes real humility.
It means walking into a conversation willing to be wrong, willing to have your mind changed, and ready to adjust your plans based on true wisdom. Without that posture, asking for counsel is just going through the motions.
Now, to bring all these different ideas together, the need for counsel, finding the right counselors, and having a humble heart, the text gives us this powerful personal story that shows exactly how this all plays out in real life. All right, so let's set the scene. The story takes us back to March of 1984. The author describes himself as this passionate teenager, absolutely convinced he was about to make a huge, life-changing decision, and he was 100% sure it was the right one. So here's the play-by-play. This passionate kid decides, that's it, I'm quitting school, I'm going into full-time ministry right now. But his dad, instead of just shutting him down, wisely says, okay, let's go get some counsel from a couple of respected leaders. The teen agrees, so he meets with the first guy, Dr. Theodore Williams, who gives him some clear advice. Then he goes and meets with the second leader, Dr. Thomas Ganamuthu, who gives him the exact same advice. Faced with this powerful confirmation, the teen humbly accepts the correction and changes his plans, a decision that ended up steering his entire life in a new direction.
And this was the line that changed everything. Both men, completely independent of each other, said this same simple but profound thing. Can you just imagine the impact of hearing that twice? Suddenly, it wasn't just one person's opinion. It was this confirmed piece of wisdom that was basically impossible to ignore.
This story just wraps it all up so perfectly, doesn't it? You've got the wisdom of a parent, the incredible value of multiple counselors, and the sheer power of having that advice confirmed. And the whole thing, the entire outcome, hinged on that teenager's humility, his willingness to listen and redirect his passion with wisdom.
And that really brings it all back to us, doesn't it? As you look at the big decisions on your own horizon, the question is, are you trying to figure it all out alone? Or who, in your life right now, could be part of that multitude of counselors that helps lead you to a place of safety and strength? The answer just might change everything. Thanks for joining me for this explainer.